Hector and Paris join the fighting, each killing a man and turning the fight towards the Trojans. On seeing this onslaught of the Trojans, Athena rushes down from Olympus to join the fighting, but she is stopped by her brother, Apollo. "What next? What is the mighty Zeus's daughter blazing after now? Down from Olympus, what heroics stir your heart? No doubt you'll hand your Argives victory soon, you'll turn the tide of battle. You have no mercy, none for dying Trojans. Come, listen to me. My plan is so much better. Let us halt the war in the heat of combat now, at least for today. They'll fight again tomorrow, until they win their way to the fixed doom of Troy, since that is your only passion, you two goddesses, to plunder Troy to rubble." Athena agrees and asks Apollo what the plan is. Apollo tells her that they will get Hector to challenge one of the Achaeans in single combat to the death. Hector is told to do this, and he comes between the Achaeans and Trojans, knowing that he is urged on by the goddess. "Hear me, Trojans, Achaeans geared for combat. I'll speak what the heart inside me urges. Our oaths, our sworn truths. Zeus, the son of Cronos, throned in the clouds, has brought them all to nothing, and all the Father decrees is death for both sides at once. Until you Argives seize the well-built towers of Troy, or you yourselves are crushed against your ships. But now, seeing the best of all Achaeans fill your ranks, let one whose nerve impels him to fight with me come striding from your lines, a lone champion pitted against Prince Hector. Here are the terms that I set forth. Let Zeus look down, my witness. If that man takes my life with his sharp bronze blade, he will strip my gear and haul it back to his ships. But give my body to my friends to carry home again, so Trojan men and Trojan women can do me honor with fitting rites of fire once I am dead. But if I kill him and Apollo grants me glory, I'll strip his armor and haul it back to sacred Troy and hang it high on the deadly archer's temple walls. But not his body. I'll hand it back to the decked ships so the long-haired Achaeans can give him full rites and heap a barrow high by the broad Hellespont. And someday, one will say, one of the men to come, steering his oar-swept ship across the wine-dark sea, there's the mound of a man who died in the old days, one of the brave whom glorious Hector killed. So they will say someday, and my fame will never die." The Achaeans are silent in their shame and fear until Menelaus comes forward and lashes out at them. "Oh no! Your threats, your bluster, women, not men of Achaea, what disgrace it will be! Shame! Cringing shame if not one Danaan now steps up to battle Hector. You can all turn to earth and water, rot away. Look at each of you sitting there, lifeless, to lust for glory gone. I'll harness up, I'll fight the man myself. The gods on high, they hold the ropes of victory in their hands." Menelaus begins to put his armor on, but his brother Agamemnon stops him, calling him mad for wanting to fight Hector, as even Achilles dreaded a fight against Hector, the son of Priam. Then old Nestor rises and speaks before the Achaeans. "Oh, if only, Father Zeus, Athena, Apollo, I were young again, fresh as the day we fought by Calydon's rapids, our Pelians in platoons against Arcadian spearmen under Phea's ramparts, round the Ardanus banks. When Arcadia's champion Ereuthalion strode forth, a man like a god for power, his shoulders decked with King Arethus' armor, massive Arethus. The great war club, so they called that hulk, his men-at-arms and their sashed and lovely women. He would never fight with a bow or long spear, no, with his giant iron club he'd break battalions open. That monster, Lycurgus, cut him down by stealth, not force at all, on a footpath so cramped his iron club was useless fending off his death. There,
Before he could heft it, a sudden lunge in Lycurgus' spear had run him through the guts. Flat on his back he went, slamming against the ground in his killer strip the armor brazen Ares gave him. He donned it himself for years of grueling war, but then when Lycurgus grew too old in his halls, he passed it on to a favorite henchman, Eruthalion, and sporting that gear he challenged all our best. And they shook from head to foot, terrified, none with the nerve to face him then. Only I, my hardened courage drove me to fight the man in a hot burst of daring, and I, the youngest trooper of all us. I took him on, and Athena gave me glory. By heaven, Eruthalion was the biggest, strongest man I ever killed. The huge lumbering sprawl of him stretching far and wide. Oh, make me young again, and the strength inside me steady as a rock. Hector with that flashing helmet would meet his match in combat in a moment. You, the bravest of all Achaeans, and not one with the spine to battle Hector face to face.
His taunts bring 9 men to their feet to fight. Agamemnon himself, powerful Diomedes, great and little Ajax, Idomeneus, Meriones, Eurypylus, Thoas, and Odysseus out for exploit. Each man scratches his mark on a stone, and all are thrown into Agamemnon's helm. The lots are shaken by Nestor, and the mark of great Ajax leaps from the helmet. Ajax and Hector then fight, but before one can kill the other, they are broken up, and both parties agree to resume the fighting the next day, with Hector saying, "Yes, Ajax, since God has given you power, build, and sense, and you are the strongest spearman of Achaea, let us break off this dueling to the death, at least for today. We'll fight again tomorrow until some fatal power decides between our armies, handing victory down to one side or another. Look, the night comes at last. Best to yield to night. So you will bring some joy to Achaea's forces camped beside their ships, and most of all to your own troops, the comrades you command. But I'll go back to the great city of King Priam, and bring some joy to the men of Troy, and Trojan women trailing their long robes. Thankful for my return, they'll go to meet the gods and sing their praises. Come, let us give each other gifts, unforgettable gifts, so any man may say, Trojan soldier or Argive, first they fought with heart-devouring hatred, then they parted, bound by pacts of friendship." So the two armies go their separate ways. Back in the tents, Nestor speaks among the Achaean warlords, and urges them to call a peace the next day in order to collect the dead and build a wall around the ships and troops with a trench. The Achaeans assent. At Troy, Antenor speaks among the Trojans and tells them to give up Helen and her treasures as they fight as lawbreakers. Paris says that he will give up Helen's treasures that he stole and some of his own gold, but not Helen herself. Priam then speaks and tells the herald Idaeus to go to the Achaeans at first light to tell them about the offer that Paris is willing to make, and to see if they are willing to halt the fighting to burn the bodies of the dead. With the rising sun, Idaeus the herald goes from Troy to the beaked ships of the Achaeans. Going among the troops, he calls out, "Son of Atreus, captains of all Achaeans, Priam and noble Trojans command me to report, if it proves acceptable, pleasing to one and all, the offer of Paris who caused our long hard campaign. All the treasures that filled his hollow ships, and the prince hauled home to Troy, would to God he'd drown before that day. He'll return them all, and add from his own stores. But the lawful wife of Menelaus, renowned Menelaus, he will not give her up. Paris makes that clear, though all Troy commands him to do precisely that. They tell me to add this too, a good sound proposal. If you are willing, come, we'll halt the brutal war until we can burn the bodies of our dead. We'll fight again tomorrow until some fatal power decides between us both, handing victory down to one side or the other. There is a silence, then Diomedes, lord of the war cry, shouts out, "No one touched the treasures of Paris, Helen either. It's obvious, any fool can see it. Now at last, the neck of Troy's in the noose. Her doom is sealed." With this, all the Achaeans roar out their assent, and Agamemnon speaks up. There's the Achaeans' answer, Idaeus, a declaration, you can hear it for yourself. It is my pleasure too. But about the dead, I'd never grudge their burning, no holding back for the bodies of the fallen. Once they are gone, let fire soothe them quickly. That is my sworn pledge. Zeus my witness now, Hera's lord whose thunder drums the sky. So Agamemnon makes his oath with raised scepter, and Idaeus turns round and returns to Troy. Idaeus delivers the message of the Achaeans. The Trojans send out men, some to gather the fallen bodies, some to gather timber for funeral pyres, and the Achaeans do the same. The Achaeans build one great grave for all the fallen soldiers which they mourn. They also construct a wall around their camps and ships with an enormous trench filled with sharp stakes. Then all that night the long-haired Achaeans feasted as Trojans and Trojan allies took their meal in Troy. Yes, but all night long the master strategist Zeus plotted fresh disaster for both opposing armies, his thunder striking terror, and blanching panic swept across the ranks. They flung wine from their cups and wet the earth, and no fighter would dare drink until he'd poured an offering out to the overwhelming son of Kronos. Then down they lay at last and took the gift of sleep.